Oh, I am such a idiot. This entire time I've been staring at this for like 5 minutes trying to figure out what's wrong. I'm an idiot. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm a blithering idiot. But at least I caught it before I actually rode around with it and looked even more stupid than I already do. It's just so stupid.
What's going on, everyone? Here's another episode of Pre for you. So, if you haven't already found out, I've partnered with Werks Powersports out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Why does this matter? Well, because they're going to allow me to film the process of them installing the Hitchcock Performance Cam on my Classic 350, which will be the main focus of the next video in the series. But for now, we're going to take a little step back from performance and focus our attention on comfort, style, and I guess a bit of personalization. Now, these parts were supplied from both Hitchcock Motorcycles and from my friends at Werks Powersports of Fort Wayne. Links will be in the description, of course, so be sure to check them out. So, I have a handful of things that I'm going to be installing for today's video. The chain guard that I've had for like 4 frickin' months, the bar end mirrors, touring foot pegs, and the touring seats with that additional backrest. Disclaimer, ignore the fact that I have the pad on backwards. We will get to that. Now let's get the video started. First, with the chain guard, since it's going to take no time to do. Why am I changing it? Well, in my opinion, the original chain guard I was not a big fan of from the get-go. It's a chunk of plastic, and I foresee it becoming brittle over time with UV damage or general wear and tear, and I fear that the plastic is going to eventually break. I've heard several stories of this happening to older Classic 350s, but I don't think it's really been an issue on these newer models. Regardless, I'd rather get rid of the thing and replace it with something I feel is nicer, both in material and in the general way it looks. Enfield Precision offers this chain guard in 2 different finishes. I opted for black instead of the stainless steel look. I figured it would go with it a little bit better. So, looking at the original chain guard here, you can make out 2 bolts that you have to remove. The third and final one is hidden behind whatever you want to call this triangular black piece with the chrome cap. To remove that chrome cap, you slide a plastic trim tool or something that's not going to damage the finish underneath that side of the cap. Give it a little bit of pressure and pull towards you, and it pops right off. Then you have the small bolt here that needs to come out. And once you do that, you just pull that black triangular part off. It's pressed into 2 rubber grommets, so you don't have to worry about the thing falling off as you remove the bolt. Now it's just a process of removing the 3 old bolts and the original chain guard. Then installing the new one with the new included hardware. When I went to install this, I put a very small amount of blue thread locker on the new bolts and tightened them just to the point of being nice and snug. I didn't torque the hell out of them like a gorilla. I just went with the same amount of pressure, or roughly, that it took for me to take the old ones off. It's a super easy part to swap out, and it really shouldn't take you any longer than 8 minutes at the worst. The new Enfield Precision Guard looks really nice on the Classic 350. It's a little subtle change that most people are probably not going to notice, but when you do, you can really appreciate how much cleaner it looks over the original. If you're worried about the possibility of rust, you can give it a nice clean and then spray it with some sort of rust preventative like a wax oil spray, and you'll be good to go. This cost, by the way, around $60 USD, and I don't really think that's a bad price. Then we have the Royal Enfield bar end mirrors. Looking at them up close and personal out of the box, I'm immediately impressed with the quality. These don't come off like some lightweight, cheap plastic junk like I see floating around on eBay and Amazon. These are solid and appear to be really well made. The downside, though, is that they are, for some ungodly reason, $250, which, for reference, is pretty much the cost of the touring seat and the passenger pillion together. Worse yet is that you can't even install this without purchasing the adapters, which raises the question, why didn't Royal Enfield just have this as a kit instead of having them as separate pieces? The adapter is really just a solid metal bar end with a plastic spacer. It's a straightforward install as well. Take an Allen wrench and remove the old cap along with the original bolt, since you're not going to reuse them. Then place the bar end in its place along with the new bolt and tighten it down. I have my mirrors going upright. I'm sure you can have them downwards, but I didn't think it really worked on a bike like this, but that's just one man's opinion. The side with the throttle is done the exact same way, so no worries there. It might take a minute or two to really adjust them to how you like. Again, I didn't torque the hell out of these mirrors, it's just not necessary. In hindsight, I should have bought the caps that go on the threads where the original mirrors mount, but I wasn't exactly sure how these bar ends would look. I did buy them after I recorded this part. Also, you can clearly tell that I put the touring seats on the bike already. That's the last thing I'm going to talk about, just a heads up, because I know how YouTube is and people are going to bring it up in the comments. But I'll tell you this, I really, really love how the bar end mirrors look. I've seen them on the black 350s and some of the military looking models, but never on a chrome bronze. But I absolutely adore the way it looks on this bike. Riding around with these on, I didn't exactly know what to think going into it, but oddly enough, I was way more in tune with what was going on around me than I ever was with the original mirrors. I can see a lot more than I ever could despite the mirrors themselves not even being bigger. Not only that, but these don't vibrate nearly as much as the stock ones do, which of course is a massive plus. The only downside, of course, is the pricing being far too high for what it really is. $250 with an extra 16 or so for the adapters is absolutely wild. Okay, so next we have the touring foot pegs. I opted for all black. I think they look significantly better and less distracting than the ones with that kind of bare metal color. These don't come with anything out of the package, by the way. You're going to reuse all that hardware from the original foot pegs. I had a bit of trouble filming this to really show you what's going on, but I'll link a video in the description and in the cards in case you really need a more in-depth tutorial on this install. But it really doesn't take long to do. The hardest part of this whole thing is getting that retention circlip off and back on. I actually had to grind down the pins on my pliers just to fit into that circlip, but even then, I still had to use a flathead driver to coerce the thing off. Careful, by the way, because if you're not holding on to that clip and you make a mistake, it's just going to go flying off into oblivion where you'll never find it. But when you do get that clip off, the rest is a pretty much cakewalk. It's impossible to mix up what foot peg goes where. It's pretty much common sense. Pay attention to the spring and make sure that it goes back the exact same way you took it out. The retaining pin that holds everything together is the trickiest part, really. It takes a bit of finessing to slide it through the spring and through the bottom part of the foot mount. I used a flathead to help work that pin back into place and through the bottom of the mount, but just be careful not to scratch the metal. Then of course all that's left is putting back on that circlip to make sure everything's all contained and you're good to go. I think these go well with the bike, totally fine without looking awkward or out of place. I've seen the bare metal ones on the classic 350 before, different color bike, but honestly the pegs just looked a bit weird. But I like this, you don't notice them, they don't stand out or look weird. And I wasn't totally sure what to expect when riding with these touring foot pegs, but I'm extremely happy with them. They don't vibrate as much, probably because of the additional thicker rubber, and it makes it much more comfortable when you're out and about cruising for extended periods of time. Also, because the foot pegs are wider, I felt that shifting was far easier for me personally than ever before, but let's keep in mind of my disease and how badly it's destroyed my range of motion in my left foot. People keep telling me, well, Foxxy, just get a heel-toe shifter, it'll fix everything. Honestly, it's not my thing. I don't like them. I've used them several times in the past. One of the bikes I've had in the past had a heel-toe shifter, and I never liked it no matter what. Regardless, I'm a massive fan of these foot pegs and have no desire to ever swap them out for the stock ones or for anything else. They weren't expensive either, really. $80-ish, damn near 3 times less than the bar end mirrors. I know, I keep going on about it. I can't get over it. Okay, now we're changing out the seat and the passenger one for the touring set. The stock seat is a very good one, but I notice I tend to slide around a bit more than I'd like to, especially if I have to hit the brakes in a hurry. The touring seat has several pleats on it, which is very retro in style, but I would imagine it would also provide better grippage on my rear end. I think the touring seat looks really nice. Love the stitching on it, love the embroidering, looks really well made, and same with the pillion, really. I would have gone just for a solo seat, but my fiance encouraged me to get the pair, as well as the additional backrest, which I don't mind. She hates being a passenger without a backrest, and I get it. No big deal. But we have the same stupid issue with the bar end mirrors. The backrest just doesn't come with new mounts. You have to order that separately. Again, why are we doing this? What is the purpose of not having it as an all-in-one kit? I'm not going to go on another rant, but it's still just dumb to me. There's 2 different methods that people use to swap out the front seat. I'm just going to show you the one that I like to use because it's less awkward for me to do. So you have these 2 long bolts that hold the seat and its mount in place. Pop those off and carefully lift the seat back and up to take it off. You'll notice that the new touring seat doesn't have that mount already installed with it. You're going to have to swap it off the original seat and transfer it over to the new one. Simple, straightforward process. Putting the seat back on is simple. There's a bit on the mount that slides onto the frame, and then you have to give it a nice firm push downwards. From there, put the bolts back on, making sure they're properly aligned and everything's tightened back up. The passenger seat is held onto the bike by the 4 hex bolts here, which you can tell also holds the handrail in place. Take them out, and both pieces come off very easily. Then you just simply reverse the process and reuse the old handrail, or by changing it out with the backrest like I'm doing here. But don't do what I did by having the logo face the front of the bike. It's supposed to face the back side. I didn't even notice it until a few days later, and this is how that all went.
I am such a fucking idiot. This entire time I've been staring at this for like 5 minutes trying to figure out what's wrong. So like, this is backwards. The logo is actually supposed to go the other way, which completely makes sense why this looks just absolutely bizarre. I really need to... I'm an idiot. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm a blithering idiot. But at least I caught it before I actually rode around with it and looked even more stupid than I already do. God, it's just so stupid. Why? How did I mess that up? It's just so stupid. Maybe when I make videos in the future, especially when working on my bike, I'll actually get more than 3 hours of sleep the night before and maybe, I don't know, eat something so I'm not such a blithering idiot. Do more dumb shit like I did here. Jeez.
After you assemble and install it correctly, make sure to bolt down the actual backrest to the mounting brackets, and there you go. The job is done. I'm slightly annoyed with the backrest padding itself because if you look close enough, you can tell that the logo is not centered. And now that I've noticed it, it's the only thing I can see. So yeah, quality control department failed here. My feelings on it overall are mixed. I don't hate it, but it would really benefit from being, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches higher. As it is now, it gives you some support for your passenger, but it's not really going to do that much for their lower back. It basically keeps the passenger from sliding backwards compared to being an actual backrest. In a way, I kind of regret getting this over the luggage rack. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? I think the backrest looks really good on the Meteor 350, but the Classic 350 just kind of, I don't know. I'm not overly thrilled about it. My initial impressions of the touring seats themselves are positive for sure. Even though it is more firm, I definitely think it's far more comfortable than that of the original seat. The only downside is that it sits up a little bit higher, and I'm now not able to flat foot at all with both feet down. And that's fine, it doesn't really bother me, but I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that hate tiptoeing on their bikes. Especially those of you who happen to be a little bit shorter in height. Now, I'm used to this with my Kawasaki Versys that sits up way taller, so again, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. When riding around, I definitely noticed that the seat grips to me better. I'm not sliding anywhere near as much, and I could see myself riding this bike with the touring seat for hours and not having any issues whatsoever with comfort or feeling like I have to constantly adjust myself. I've only been on the bike for maybe 200-ish miles with all these parts. And overall, there's a lot of positive and a very few negative things I could say. And if there is one part in particular that I would say no to, it's that backrest. Like I said, I've seen the Meteors with the backrest and it looks so much better than this on the Classic. It's a shame, but again, it's not like I can't just swap it out for something else. I love the touring seats, I love the touring foot pegs, and the new bar end mirrors. I think they're all just absolutely wonderful. And the chain guard, while probably being the least necessity thing of all the things I've bought, I'm a big fan of it. The way it looks on the Classic is just really nice, and I think it pairs very well. And that's kind of all I got for this video, everyone. I promise that the next installment of this series will be the cam upgrade. I plan on doing a 0 to 60 test with it, as well as a top speed acceleration test, and compare it to what it's like with the mods that I've already done so far. And maybe Werks will allow me to take a stock Classic 350 to do an even better comparison of a stock bike, a modded one like I have now, and then one with the cam installed, just to see what the difference is really like. But in due time, of course. Sorry for the wait on that, but both Werks Powersports and I have been extremely busy with upcoming events, work obviously, and personal life crap that we all deal with. Hopefully we'll have some time at the end of this month to get that going. I know they already have the part ordered and it's ready to go. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Project Royal Enfield. Take care, and I will see you next time.